The Law of Life. Old Kochetkov was listening. He heard the shouts of his people and the barking of the dogs. Winter was coming, and with it, hunger. So his people had to go to the south. The tents were folded up, and the sledges were packed. Slowly they moved and passed him. Soon he would be quite alone. He would sit on the snow and wait for his death, for he was old and blind and a burden to his people. All the village had passed. He was alone. But suddenly he heard steps on the snow. He felt a hand on his head. It was his son. His son was good. His son was kind. He was brave and the chief of his people. He remembered other old men who had remained in the snow and whose sons had not returned to them. But his son was kind. "Are you well?" asked the son. "Yes, I am well." "There is some firewood near you, and the fire is burning. The morning is dark and cold. Soon it will snow. It is snowing even now," said the young man. "Yes, it is snowing even now," repeated the old man. "The hunters hurry. They are hungry, and the way is long. Now I must go." "Yes, go now. I am old and blind. I am tired. Soon it will be over. Go now." When his son had gone, old Kochetkov touched the heap of firewood at his side. The heap was not too big. His granddaughter, Sitcom had gathered it. She was young. Life was before her, and she had no time to think of her old grandfather. His life would last as long as he could keep up the fire. He must die when the fire died. It was quite easy, and he did not complain. It was the law of life. Only the young and strong could live. He knew it very well. Life had taught it to him. He put a log on the fire and sat thinking. He thought of the past. There had been a great famine. There had been neither rabbit nor fish, and the dogs were all skin and bone. Many children and women and old people had died at that time. Yes, that was a terrible famine. But he remembered also good times, when they had enough to eat, when the dogs were fat and lazy, and the tents full of playing children. Again he put a log on the fire. Again he thought of the past. He remembered a day in his childhood. He and another boy were hunting. Suddenly they saw on the snow the fresh tracks of an elk, followed by a pack of wolves. The tracks were fresh and stained with blood. The boys followed them until they came to a place from where they saw the elk, surrounded by the wolves. He fought for his life, but the wolves soon got the upper hand and tore him to pieces. Many years had passed since that day. Kochetkov had become the chief of his people. He had been a brave and strong hunter. Now he was old and blind, but the sight of the dying elk was still fresh in his memory. The fire was low, and it grew colder. Now he put 2 logs on the top of the fire. Then he listened. Maybe his son would return and take him on his sledge. But everything was quiet. He was alone, quite alone. Suddenly he heard a well-known long howl. It came nearer and nearer. He remembered the elk dying among a pack of wolves. Then he felt a cold touch on his cheek. He took up a firebrand and threw it at the wolves. The animals retreated a little, but did not leave him. After a short time, he felt that they were surrounding him, that they were quite near. He took up a new firebrand, but again he thought of the dying elk and threw the brand away. His head fell on his knees. He did not move. After all, was it worthwhile to fight? Sooner or later he had to die. That was the law of life.